Here's a number that speaks to the cultural rot in America. Scott Rasmussen did a survey about the second failed Trump assassination attempt on Sunday. 28% of Democrats think America would be better off if Trump had been assassinated.
28%?
More than 1 in 4 Democrats think America would be better off if Trump had been assassinated. And interestingly, a majority believe the anti-Trump rhetoric to be the proximate cause of the attempts on President Trump's life. It's really interesting. So
they must have been really disappointed when it failed the second time.
Well, this is, I guess, your pool of cheerleaders for assassination, if not next man up.
Actually, I shouldn't be surprised. And I thought it would be more like 40%.
So it's interesting because I have the exact opposite response. If I were asked, would the country be better off if Kamala Harris was assassinated or Joe Biden was assassinated? No, absolutely not. I am when it comes to politicians, I am in the position of Leonidas. Did you ever see the movie 300?
I actually saw that movie.
Uh-huh. So when Ephialtes betrays Leonidas to Xerxes and the Persians, and Leonidas says to Ephialtes, "May you live forever. Live forever with what you've done. Live forever knowing that you're a traitor, that you're a quisling. Live forever and have to defend who you are and what you've done." That's so much better. So much better. But I mean, this is sort of a commentary on how shrill and venal a significant percentage of Americans are, which I suppose is why somebody who is so comically unqualified to run anything of importance, much less be the chief executive of the greatest country the world has ever seen, is in the hunt. Oh, and the other thing, too, that speaks to this cultural rot is this sort of celebration of central planners. You know, our heroes today are people, are regulators. You know, certainly on the left, the heroes are the government functionaries. Jay Powell should wear a cape to the Fed confab today where he announces the rate cut so we can all cheer.
Yeah.
Jay Powell
saved them.
Soft landing, and he saved America, and he reduced the inflation that he instigated with a decade of quantitative easing and the associated devaluation of the dollar. But now here he has come, and rate cuts and happy times are here again, and the 401ks of the managerial class are safe for another quarter or two. It's also depressing. Sorry to depress. I know joy is the vibe of this election season, but anyway, for more on all of this and perhaps some other topics as well, please be joined by Chris Whalen, investment banker, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, author of Ford Men from Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
3 cheers for Jay Powell.
Yeah. No, he's failed
For
twice.
he's a jolly good, come on, sing, for he's a jolly good fellow.
No, it's more serious than that. I like the cape idea, though.
Yeah.
Because that fits the mindset of the people at the Fed. You know, for the past century, really, the Fed has been facilitating our democracy in terms of finance. Most people don't know this, but in 1953, the Treasury market collapsed after World War II. And Mariner Eccles, Tom McCabe, and eventually William and Jesse Martin created the market for Treasury bonds with non-bank dealers. And for a long time, it functioned. But in 2008, we annihilated all of them. They're gone, or they were bought by banks. You know, WAMU, Countrywide, Bear Stearns, Lehman, all of those guys used to sell a lot of bonds, and they're gone. So today we're back to a bank market, which is where we were in the Civil War, by the way. And Powell is 10 minutes away from really screwing things up. and I think he's going to do it. You know, in 2018, the end of the year, we almost crashed and burned, and then we had 2020, same thing. So, you know, this crew is clueless. They really are. You could say the same thing about Jay Powell that you just said about Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
Wow. Yeah,
Because they
well, I
don't
mean,
understand the mechanics. The
well,
dance they go through at the Board of Governors, the macroeconomic yah-yah, and the meetings and the models don't approximate the reality of keeping this train on the tracks. That's the difference.
and so if rather than debating a quarter point or half point rate cut, we should be debating what?
We should leave things where they are. If you think of the rate increases over the past couple of years, we were getting back to quote unquote normal. Whether or not the real Fed funds rate is positive or negative, I think is immaterial. In fact, Adam Posen was out on the wire today in an interview with Kathleen Hayes, which is wonderful. And he said that. You know, Adam's a very educated economist, and he understands that we really haven't tightened. Home prices haven't gone down. So what we're doing is we're institutionalizing inflation. And if we get back to that 2% target that they keep talking about, 2% inflation equals zero now, then, you know, the middle class, the 401ks and the IRAs are going to see half of the value taken away from them over the next 2 decades. If you told Americans that, how do you think they would vote?
Well, the question is, would they believe it? I mean, we have, you know, unfortunately, we're in the position too where I only believe there's a crisis when it's knocking on my front door.
That's right. Exactly.
You can't see 6 months ahead, and so, but you can. So if Powell and company stay on this,
because I've drunk the blue juice from the worm, I can see.
well, if let's say they do what they normally do, a quarter point cut, and then they sort of just they stay with the philosophy that they've employed, as you say, for the entirety of Powell's tenure. So then, where are we at in Q1 and Q2 of next year?
My guess is they're going to give us 3 to 4 quarter point cuts to get us down to 4.5 on the Fed funds target. That will help the street. That will help bankers and people that want to go out and do deals, because 5.5, if you add the spread, is a lot. You know, if you're running a trading desk today, you're paying 6 3/4, 7 for money. Does that make you want to go out and buy a treasury bond with a 2 or 3% coupon that Jay Powell helped to issue back in 2020-21? No. That whole market is illiquid. And what's interesting is that in the new proposal for the banks, Basel, they're going to let the banks write off the losses on mortgage-backed securities over 4 years. You know who did this first? The National Association of Insurance Commissioners, who realized a year ago that they had a problem. The folks at the Fed are way behind the curve, way behind the curve. They're just barely keeping up. So on the one hand, I view this as signs of intelligent life, good, because obviously people like Bank of America are underwater. But on the other hand, you know, this notion that we should go back to 3 or 2% on Fed funds is crazy. That's what you were talking about before, Dan, the equity market. Mm-hmm. They want to gun those 401ks again, right?
Right.
But the reality is they should probably go down for a while. If we were really going to fight inflation in this country, you would see some pretty poor stock market performance. Well, and the crowd is not willing to tolerate that.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, and this is where politics comes in too, it seems to me they're going to try to run the gauntlet here. If they can get away with increasing prices on middle America by 20%, while wages have, I mean, just generally speaking, while wages have declined, if they can get away with that over the next 4 years and still get Kamala elected, well, then, I mean, there's nothing that would inhibit them with respect to monetary policy.
Think about what a point cut over the next 12 months by the Fed does to home prices. Okay? Home prices are going to be going up double digits again. And in the biography I just came out with on Stan Middleman, the founder of Freedom Mortgage, Stan comes out and says, yeah, we're going to have a little rally now. We're going to see home prices go up for the next couple of years. And then we're going to have a maxi reset like 2008 in 2028. And Stan likes to say misery on the eighth, right? And
Yeah.
he's right.
Well,
He's been doing this for a long time. He's the only privately owned mortgage shop in the United States. He's got $700 billion worth of servicing, which he built all by himself. He doesn't take private equity money. You know, it's one of the largest family-owned companies in this country. And he's a very astute observer of the economics of lending. It's not that difficult, but it does take discipline and it takes focus. So if Stan's right, we're going to have a big reset in 2028. That's when the Republicans ought to be looking to take over.
well, if Harris wins, I mean, she said she's going to give new home buyers $25,000 to put down. So what's that going to do to the market?
She's insane. I mean, the problem with the Democrats, Amy, is that they only understand demand-side stimulus. They never think about supply. And the Biden people have been gunning the housing market for 4 years. But they are so incompetent and so inept that they haven't been able to get much done. They politicize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Nobody really wants to get a loan from them. They're much better off at the FHA. If you're a low-income first-time home buyer, go to the FHA. Don't go to a bank, by the way. Go talk to a broker. Don't go to a bank. Wrong, okay? So, you know, the Biden people are telling low-income families to go to Fannie Mae, which is hideous. You get much worse execution there. So these people don't even know how to help consumers. It's sad. It really is.
The just these guys. From Jay Powell to Jason Furman. I mean, Jason Furman was Obama's top economic advisor, so at least he knew why the government borrows money, unlike Jared Bernstein. But anyway, he
that is funny on many levels.
yeah, well,
Making 'em laugh.
but I mean, he didn't have the background in music and social work that Jared Bernstein does. So I mean, it's a give and a take. So Jason Furman is at Harvard too. He's supposed to be seen as like a serious sort of independent-minded economist, and then he writes a piece like this in the Journal that Kamala Harris is the safer economic choice. He pays no attention to price controls or these subsidies like the one Amy just mentioned. He just focuses on, tariffs and Trump's mercantilism is unhelpful, which I generally agree. And Kamala Harris and Biden have been unhelpful too, but she's not as serious about it as Trump is, and that she'll let Jay Powell be Jay Powell where Trump would not. And that's the sum total of why somehow Harris is the safer economic choice. Would you like to respond
this
to
is the
that?
problem.
Yeah.
You see, the Treasury is the source of inflation. One of the fascinating things I've been doing in the last couple of months, I'm revising my first book, Inflated, to be released next year. It came out in 2010, so I needed a new chapter to talk about the last 15 years, which is very interesting, right? But what you see is that going back to the Civil War, we have essentially linked the currency to Treasury debt. They are one and the same. So if we're printing money over at the Treasury with these huge deficits, what can the Fed do about inflation? The answer is nothing. They can facilitate, they can dance around and, go out to Jackson Hole and have meetings, but the Treasury is the source of the inflation. So unless Kamala Harris is going to become a deficit hawk, the answer is no, we're going to have very stiff inflation. And I think what Posen was alluding to today in the interview is that what happens if Jay cuts rates today and then we get bad prints on inflation? He's going to be totally discredited. And I think that's unfortunately what's going to happen.
He is Christopher Whalen, investment banker, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, author of Ford Men, From Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst. Chris, thanks as always.
Day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Her name is Jenny, and maybe like you, she and her husband got tired of their health care getting more and more expensive, so they did it. They went with MediShare.
We signed on with MediShare in March, had a really great experience. It was super easy to get going with them. And then in October of that same year, we found out that I had stage 3 breast cancer.
We were put at ease with MediShare.